Let me ask you a question. What would your life look like if you took back control of the thoughts that don't serve you? Today, we're talking about reclaiming your mind, rewriting the patterns that no longer align with who you want to be, and setting yourself free. Every day, we're bombarded with images, messages, and stimuli that condition our brains to think and react in specific ways. Some of these patterns, especially those rooted in sexualized content, can hijack your focus, productivity, and even self worth. This isn't about repressing your humanity, it's about redefining your relationship with your mind and recognizing when it's time to break free from thoughts that keep you stuck. We're not talking about shame or guilt here. This is about empowerment. You're going to learn how to desexualize your brain, not by suppressing thoughts, but by rewiring your mindset and creating space for clarity, purpose, and connection. You have the power to retrain your brain, and it starts with awareness. To understand the hijack. Our brains are wired to respond to certain stimuli in predictable ways, a mechanism deeply rooted in human survival and evolution. While this worked in our favor centuries ago, helping us identify threats or opportunities, in the modern world, it often leads to unhelpful patterns of thought. One of the most pervasive is the way external influences exploit our natural wiring to keep us fixated on hypersexualized content. And from social media to advertisements, movies to music videos, these messages are designed to grab your attention and hold it hostage. Bright colors, suggestive imagery, and emotionally charged messages trigger a dopamine rush, a quick hit of pleasure that feels good in the moment, but leaves you wanting more. This isn't by accident, it's a calculated strategy to keep you scrolling, watching, and consuming. Oh, but here's the twist. Every time your brain gets that dopamine hit, it reinforces a neural pathway, making it easier for your thoughts to drift back to the same stimuli. Over time, these reinforced pathways become habits, and those habits shape the way you see yourself and the world around you. What started as a passing image or idea can turn into a mental hijacking, pulling your focus away from what matters most and creating a cycle of distraction and dissatisfaction. The hijack doesn't stop at media. It can also come from the people around us or even our own internalized beliefs. Comments, jokes, or even casual observations can subtly influence how we think and perceive. These influences seep in, often unnoticed, and slowly shape our default mental settings. By the time you realize it, your brain is on autopilot, replaying the same loops over and over. Understanding this hijack means looking at the bigger picture, how cultural narratives, marketing tactics, and habitual behaviors take advantage of your brain's natural tendencies. It's about seeing these patterns for what they are, externally planted triggers that capitalize on your instincts to keep you engaged, distracted, or even controlled. So, like, challenge cultural norms. Cultural norms are powerful forces that shape our beliefs, behaviors, and perceptions of ourselves and others. These norms dictate what is considered normal, acceptable, or desirable in society, often without us consciously realizing their influence. When it comes to hypersexualization, the cultural narrative has been finely tuned to reinforce certain ideals that perpetuate unrealistic standards, reduce individuals to objects of desire, and conflate self-worth with physical appearance or sexual appeal. From an early age, we're exposed to messages that shape our understanding of sexuality and identity. Popular media, fashion, and entertainment often portray exaggerated versions of what it means to be attractive, confident, or worthy. These depictions rarely represent the diversity of human experiences and instead promote a narrow, often unattainable ideal. Over time, these images and messages seep into the collective consciousness, normalizing objectification and reinforcing the idea that sexual appeal is central to one's value. But cultural norms don't just live in advertisements or on screens. They manifest in everyday interactions and societal expectations. Casual comments about appearances, the way certain behaviors are praised or criticized, and even the language we use reflect deeper cultural assumptions. For instance, people are often praised for their looks before their achievements, and humor that relies on sexual stereotypes goes unchecked, further embedding these ideas into our daily lives. These subtle cues may seem harmless in isolation, but together they create an environment where hypersexualization feels inevitable and unquestioned. Challenging these norms requires recognizing how deeply ingrained they are and how they affect our thoughts, actions, and self-perception. It's about questioning why these ideals exist in the first place and whose interests they serve. Industries that profit from selling beauty, fashion, and even lifestyles rely on perpetuating feelings of inadequacy, keeping individuals in a constant state of striving for something better, newer, or more perfect. By feeding into these narratives, we inadvertently uphold systems that thrive on insecurity and comparison. What makes cultural norms especially tricky is their invisibility. When something is presented as normal, it's rarely questioned. The over-sexualization of women, the dismissal of emotional depth in men, and the glorification of youthful beauty all operate under the radar, shaping societal expectations in ways that feel natural. Breaking free of these norms involves shining a light on their existence, recognizing the harm they cause, and refusing to accept them at face value. Reclaim your mental space. Reclaiming your mental space is about taking back control of your thoughts and emotions in a world that constantly demands your attention. Our minds are not infinite. They have limits on what they can focus on and process. When that space becomes crowded with intrusive, hypersexualized, or irrelevant thoughts, it leaves little room for creativity, self-reflection, and personal growth. This clutter can feel overwhelming, distracting you from your goals and pulling your energy in unproductive directions. The good news is that you have the power to clear this space and decide what deserves your attention. One of the first steps in reclaiming your mental space is understanding where your attention is going. Much of what occupies your mind comes from the stimuli you're exposed to daily. Social media, television, advertisements, and even conversations with others can flood your brain with images and ideas that don't align with your values. These inputs might seem harmless at first, but over time they build up, creating patterns of thought that take root in your subconscious. For example, scrolling through Instagram might seem like a casual activity, but the carefully curated images you see can subtly shape how you perceive yourself and others, often without you even realizing it. Um, Mindfulness is a powerful tool in this process. By practicing mindfulness, you can develop the ability to observe your thoughts without judgment and recognize when your mind has been hijacked by distractions or unhealthy patterns. This isn't about suppressing your thoughts, but about acknowledging them and gently redirecting your focus to something more um, constructive. So, meditation, journaling, or simply taking a few moments each day to reflect can help you build this skill and gradually declutter your mental space. Mm. Another key aspect of reclaiming your mental space is setting boundaries. This means being intentional about what you allow into your life and what you choose to engage with. It might involve limiting your time on social media, unfollowing accounts that promote hypersexualized content, or turning off notifications that constantly pull your attention away. Its boundaries also extend to your physical environment. Surround yourself with things that inspire you and remove anything that triggers negative or unproductive thoughts. Um, Creating mental space also requires replacing the clutter with something meaningful. Once you start clearing out the noise, you'll have the opportunity to fill that space with thoughts, activities, and goals that truly resonate with you. Whether it's pursuing a passion, deepening your relationships, or simply allowing yourself the time to rest and recharge, reclaiming your mental space gives you the freedom to focus on what genuinely matters.
Create new neural pathways. The brain is not a static organ. It is highly adaptable, constantly reshaping itself based on your thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. This remarkable ability, known as neuroplasticity, means that your brain has the power to rewire itself, creating new neural pathways in response to the inputs it receives. These pathways are the roads that your thoughts travel along, and with time they become ingrained patterns of thinking and behavior. If those patterns no longer serve you, if they limit your growth, reinforce negative self-position, or perpetuate unhelpful habits, then it is possible to build new pathways that reflect the person you want to be. Creating new neural pathways requires a deliberate and consistent effort. The first step in this process is awareness. You need to understand which neural pathways are currently leading you to unwanted places. Perhaps you notice that when you experience stress, your thoughts automatically shift to self-criticism or comparisons with others. Maybe your mind tends to wander into negative or sexualized thinking, which distracts you from more important tasks or distorts your sense of self. These pathways didn't form overnight. They were developed over time, often through repeated exposure to certain stimuli or experiences. But just as they were built, they can be changed. To create new pathways, you must intentionally engage in new behaviors and thought patterns that challenge the status quo. This involves practicing habits that promote a healthier, more empowering mindset. For instance, if you find that your mind gravitates toward negative thinking, you can train yourself to replace those thoughts with affirmations or positive self-talk. The brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined, so repeating positive statements or visualizing a better version of yourself creates new neural connections, that begin to replace the old ones. Over time, these new pathways become stronger and the old ones weaken. Another way to create new neural pathways is through mindfulness and meditation. These practices have been shown to physically alter the structure of the brain, particularly in areas related to emotional regulation and self-awareness. When you meditate, you are teaching your brain to focus, to observe thoughts without judgment, and to redirect your attention when it strays. This process of redirection is critical for rewiring the brain, as it strengthens your ability to resist old automatic patterns of thinking. With consistent practice, these new pathways become more easily accessible, making it easier for you to respond to challenges in a more calm, centered, and intentional way. Physical activities like exercise also play a significant role in neuroplasticity. Studies have shown that aerobic exercise in particular stimulates the growth of new neurons in the brain, enhancing memory, focus, and overall cognitive function. Exercise encourages the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports the health of neurons and strengthens existing connections. By engaging in regular physical activity, you are not only improving your body's health, but also laying the groundwork for new neural pathways that enhance mental clarity and resilience. In addition to these practices, new neural pathways can be created by learning new skills or exposing yourself to new experiences. When you challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone, whether it's learning a new language, taking up a creative hobby, or traveling to a new place, you are forcing your brain to create new connections. The act of learning itself strengthens the brain, as it requires you to think in new ways and make novel associations. Each time you acquire a new skill or broaden your perspective, your brain builds pathways that make you more adaptable and open to growth. Set boundaries with content. In an age where information is constantly at our fingertips, setting boundaries with content is more crucial than ever. With the rapid growth of digital media, social platforms, and streaming services, we're inundated with an overwhelming amount of content every single day. Not all of it is harmful, of course, but much of it is designed to elicit strong emotional reactions or keep us hooked for longer periods of time. The problem arises when this content, whether it's images, videos, advertisements, or even conversations, becomes a source of mental clutter, distracting us from our values, our goals, and even our sense of self. Setting boundaries with content begins with an awareness of how certain types of media affect your thoughts and emotions. Take a moment to assess how different forms of content influence your state of mind. Do you feel empowered after scrolling through social media? Or do you feel drained, inadequate, or sexually objectified? Are there particular websites, TV shows, or influencers that seem to pull you into unhealthy comparisons, reinforcing unrealistic standards of beauty, success, or happiness? These sources of content may not seem damaging on the surface, but over time they contribute to a distorted view of yourself and the world. The key to setting boundaries is recognizing that you are not a passive consumer of content. You have the power to decide what you engage with and how much time you devote to it. This isn't about isolation or avoidance, it's about intentionality and self-preservation. You have the right to curate the media that enters your life, just as you would curate the people you spend time with. If you find that certain types of content cause distress, shame, or confusion, it's time to draw a line and protect your mental space. The first step in setting these boundaries is to examine your media consumption habits. Start by tracking how much time you spend on different platforms or watching particular types of content? How does your mood shift before and after engaging with this media? You might notice that certain content leads to a spike in anxiety, while other content leaves you feeling energized or informed. This awareness gives you the insight you need to make informed decisions about what to limit, what to avoid, and what to seek out more of. Once you have this awareness, it's important to be deliberate in your choices. This could involve unfollowing social media accounts that promote hypersexualized content, blocking websites that contribute to unhealthy thinking, or unsubscribing from newsletters that perpetuate negative stereotypes. Many social platforms allow you to mute or filter specific content, so you can still engage with the platform without being exposed to triggering images or messages. Additionally, consider setting time limits on social media use or using apps that track and limit your screen time. By putting these boundaries in place, you're actively taking control of your exposure to content that doesn't serve your well-being. Another aspect of setting boundaries is choosing the content you invite into your life more consciously. What are you consuming in your free time? Are you filling your mind with things that uplift and inspire you? Or are you continually feeding it content that reinforces negative beliefs about yourself? Opt for content that nourishes your intellect, inspires creativity, and promotes well-being. This could be educational podcasts, books that expand your knowledge, documentaries that introduce you to new perspectives, or even uplifting shows that make you laugh. By filling your mind with positive, enriching content, you crowd out the space for harmful messages. Setting boundaries isn't just about limiting content, it's also about being mindful of your emotional reactions to it. Sometimes, even content that doesn't seem overtly harmful can trigger deep emotional responses. For example, a well-meaning post from a friend about body image can lead to feelings of insecurity or inadequacy. In such cases, it's essential to recognize how content makes you feel and take immediate steps to protect your mental health. You might choose to mute certain individuals on social media or engage in a practice of mindfulness to recenter yourself after exposure to triggering material. These small, proactive actions can help you build resilience and maintain control over how content impacts your emotional state. Strengthen self-connection. Strengthening self-connection is the foundation of personal growth and well-being. In a world filled with external noise and distractions, it can be easy to lose touch with your true self. Many people find themselves relying on external validation, seeking approval from others, or measuring their worth by societal standards rather than cultivating a deeper connection to who they are at their core. Strengthening your self-connection means turning inward and fostering a relationship with yourself that is grounded in self-awareness, self-compassion, and authenticity. The first step in strengthening this connection is developing self-awareness. This involves taking the time to reflect on your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Self-awareness isn't just about recognizing your strengths and achievements, it's about becoming comfortable with all parts of yourself, including the aspects that you may not be proud of or that you may have suppressed over time. It means facing your fears, your insecurities, and your past experiences head-on. By acknowledging these aspects, you start to understand why you think and behave the way you do, and you give yourself permission to be fully human. This deep awareness allows you to make conscious choices that align with your authentic values and needs, rather than reacting unconsciously to external pressures. Once you've cultivated self-awareness, the next crucial step is self-compassion. In our fast-paced, performance-driven society, it's easy to be overly critical of ourselves. We often hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, berating ourselves for perceived failures or mistakes. Strengthening self-connection requires the practice of self-compassion, which means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. This means giving yourself permission to make mistakes, acknowledging your imperfections, and forgiving yourself when you fall short. Self-compassion is the antidote to self-judgment, and it allows you to embrace yourself fully without shame or guilt. It creates a safe space within yourself where you can grow, evolve, and heal. Strengthening self-connection also involves deepening your relationship with your own emotions. So often, people numb their feelings through distractions, whether it's work, social media, food, or substances. While these coping mechanisms can offer temporary relief, they prevent you from truly understanding and processing your emotions. To reconnect with yourself, you must learn to sit with your emotions, both the pleasant and the uncomfortable ones. This requires creating space for vulnerability and being honest about how you feel, without judgment. By acknowledging and feeling your emotions, you allow them to move through you, rather than allowing them to control you or remain buried beneath the surface. This emotional awareness empowers you to make decisions that are aligned with your inner truth and emotional needs. In addition to emotional awareness, self-connection requires practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you stay present and focused on the current moment, rather than getting lost in past regrets or future anxieties. By grounding yourself in the here and now, you develop a stronger sense of self and can better tune into your inner wisdom. Mindfulness practices such as meditation, deep breathing, or mindful walking allow you to quiet the external noise and listen to the subtle cues of your body and mind. Through this practice, you create a space where you can connect to your true self and observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Another powerful way to strengthen self-connection is by honoring your personal values and setting boundaries that align with those values. When you live in accordance with your values, you cultivate a sense of integrity and self-respect. This means identifying what truly matters to you, whether it's creativity, honesty, freedom, family, or something else, and making choices that honor those principles.